Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for jumping on to this latest episode of System Link, our combined podcast discussion and gameplay stream featuring Mike Hazelton from the Xbox Guide. Mike, thank you once again for joining us in our lovely, jolly double podcast that we have together.
Yeah, looking forward to this one. Sorry we're a bit late on, just some technical hitches, mainly at my end. But yeah, looking forward to it. Got a starting with Assassin's Creed trailer, which neither of us have watched, so should be pretty cool to see it together for the first time.
Yeah, and actually partly also too why I was running behind as well was trying to get that set up together. You know, there was a lot of this where we realised we'd never done an actual live reaction outside of, you know, just playing some games at the end of a stream. So we've managed to coordinate it. I think we've got it working, so hopefully it'll work for you guys as well. I don't know if any of you guys have already seen that Assassin's Creed trailer yet, so please jump into chat. Just let us know if you've already seen it. Assassin's Creed Shadows. This is the new announced Assassin's Creed game due out this November 15th. I don't know what your familiarity is with the recent titles. I know you tried some of the older ones back in the day. But I've, generally speaking, stayed pretty up to date. I've hard Brexit on several. I've completed a few. The last one I played was Origins, so I haven't played Odyssey or Valhalla yet, or Mirage, so I'm kind of 3 behind in my Assassin's Creeding. Is there anything you're sort of particularly looking for with this? Because I know that, you know, pretty much what I know of this is that it's set in feudal Japan. That's kind of it. Did you have any expectations coming into this?
Mainly, I just want the direction to be slightly more focused and less like Ubisoft bloat. Because I really want to play Valhalla. I think it's still in Game Pass, hopefully.
Yes. Yeah.
But I know that's a very long game, but mainly by virtue of them throwing loads of unnecessary content in there. And I get the impression that they are recognizing that people are starting to get a bit cold on that and are kind of moving away from that kind of thing. And I think also we've seen them take the Assassin's Creed series in slightly new directions. So I'm just interested to see what they do with this one. I would probably, to be honest, wait for reviews, and if it sounds like it's a direction that appeals to me, then yeah, I'd be interested. But
yeah, nice.
See what the trailer looks like.
For me, it was definitely to do with bloat. I think that a few of the Assassin's Creeds have kind of been needlessly padded, and Mirage seemed like a step in the right direction, almost like sort of scaling it back a little bit to a slightly more achievable experience, like sort of 25 hours, 30 hours, rather than being a 100-hour RPG. I'm hoping that Shadows doesn't go quite as far as Valhalla and Odyssey had done in terms of length. I'd quite like it to sort of strike a nice middle ground there, because they do have a history, Ubisoft, of really well supporting their titles post-launch. We see that often with either big paid expansions, free updates, and everything in between. So the hope is that it's not just sort of needlessly long just for the sake of it justifying a price tag. So that's kind of what I'm looking for going in. As I'd like to see something visually a little bit different as well. I'd like to see them, I'm hoping this new setting, new time period will give us some, an excuse to have a bit more of a visual refresh. And yeah, we'll kind of take it from there, I suppose, really.
I feel like this setting has been rumoured for quite a long time, so possibly at least they've been planning this game for a while now. So hopefully it means even if it is long, it will be because of some decent story content as opposed to meaningless side quests.
Yeah, and I think also quite helpfully they've let this one cook. It's been a minute since Valhalla, which was the last big mainline title, and obviously Mirage last year, but that was kind of, I think, more of a kind of a mid-cycle release for the development. They kind of had that coming in as that smaller experience, and it was made by another Ubisoft team as well. So it made sense, I think, a bit like what we're hoping to see maybe Xbox do with Fallout, is have sort of, give that franchise to another team that could make a smaller spin-off. I'm hoping they'll do the same with Halo actually at some point. We talked about that, I think, off stream, the idea of them maybe doing more of those kind of Spartan Assault style spin-offs between mainline Halo titles. That's something I think that potentially is the approach they're taking with Assassin's Creed. It's been a few years now since that last big title in Valhalla. Yep. So I think we're ready to dive in and check the trailer out. Now hopefully this is going to work smoothly without a hitch. Mike, I'm ready on my end if you are.
I'm ready, yeah.
Cool, so we're going to get started in 3, 2, 1. Are we CG or in-engine here? CG?
CG, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Who are you? Who do you serve?
All I have ever known in my life. Our land. Our customs.
Will be a very cool
My
setting.
family. Burns in the name of unification.
Yeah, for sure. Capitalizing well on Shogun right now, which is kind of the big show.
Yeah.
Big Manny, yeah, it does have Sekiro vibes for sure.
You are still a frog in a well who knows nothing of the sea. The ocean's filled with new ships, but they all
some
come
ship
from
gameplay in
the
there,
same
haven't they?
river.
And I think,
Greed.
something I'd seen earlier, I think it's a dual protagonist situation as well. I think.
Power.
Have they done that before?
Yeah, we have seen that sort of like male and female equivalent characters of the same character, but I don't know if they've done distinct male and female roles. Maybe in Odyssey, actually. I think Odyssey did that.
And you... Will you continue down that river? Or choose another path beyond what we see?
And we must look for it together.
I feel like people are going to be annoyed at Black Samurai. Is it? Can just see that coming.
Or just sort of inevitable sort of like Twitter speak about something like that.
We must
Yeah.
learn to
Well, I don't know
trust,
if it's Samurai or whatever, but
rebuild.
And follow the blade.
Always interesting to see in CG trailers sort of hints at mechanics there. So using throwing stars, looked like a grapple hook potentially, as well as a mechanic there.
I do like the way they do it because we'll have this CG trailer and then in June probably at one of the conference events we'll see gameplay.
Yeah. We are due a Ubisoft showcase in June, I think, aren't we?
Yeah, you can.
I said, who do you serve? We are the shadows.
That serve the light.
Okay. It's always tricky, isn't it, when you sort of have a CG trailer like that, because unless I think it is indicative of gameplay mechanics, it becomes really tricky to actually, like, connect with it in some ways, because you sort of look at it and kind of think, well, is this just being made because it looks cool in this pre-rendered advert, essentially, as opposed to, is it actually going to show us what the gameplay is?
I struggle with CG trailers that are even that long. Like, I saw it was a 3-minute trailer, and I thought, that's nice. Like, a decent showing of the game, and obviously it's all CG, and it's just a bit... don't know. I'd rather be watching a film like this rather than...
Yeah, for sure. I'm certainly, in terms of them trying to maybe push something different, I think that sort of mechanically suggests something a little bit newer than we've seen in recent games. From what the vibe I'm getting from it, though, is I think they are shooting for that more Valhalla-sized RPG. Mirage was so clearly pitched as like, oh, this is like Assassin's Creed 2 again. This is like going back to Ezio and that trilogy. The setting, the way it was pitched with him in the white outfit, that game I think so clearly evoked that era of Assassin's Creed. This very much feels like a continuation of the RPG refocus that they've had in the last few games. So
Valhalla was cross-gen, wasn't it?
Yep.
Or not?
Yeah.
So it'd be nice to have a next-gen or current-gen.
For sure.
Assassin's Creed.
Interesting to see as well, like, confirmed platforms as well for this. Is this going to be definitely going to be just next gen only, for instance, or are they going to still support the older consoles? Yeah, I really do at this point. You think so, right? But yeah, okay. So I think you're right. Actually, I think that's a good call. I think we're likely to get some kind of either gameplay deep dive or maybe like a snippet of gameplay included in the June showcase for Ubisoft. It's basically E3 season. It's just called, it's just Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest now, isn't it? But they all take place at roughly the same time. I'm pretty sure the Xbox showcase is on a weekend, like it often was. So
Sunday, I think.
That's right. Yeah, it was always Sunday night, wasn't it? Traditionally at E3. God, I missed that. You and I used to, cover E3 on our first website together, TGSN. But it was the staying up. It was the synchronizing to try and watch it and doing all that. That was a real E3 was a real event for us in our gaming calendar. Which is again something that clearly long since died a death in terms of that show and what that looks like. But that period of time, June, has always traditionally been the time for them to show their hands a little bit. And
it's still an exciting time of year. It's just a shame. I think it definitely has lost some of the magic for people at home. Maybe it wasn't very useful for the trade, but I think what we have in place now isn't ideal from an audience point of view. But
yeah, no, I agree. It's when Nintendo kind of started, really, didn't they? They pulled out of E3 before it was officially gone, starting their direct processing. I mean, it always pains me that the last thing they ever did at E3 was showing what fireworks in Nintendo Land look like, which is one of the most painful. You expecting that one more thing, Reggie to come out and just bring a DS out his pocket, and then it was, here's what fireworks look like in Nintendo Land, and it was just the most wet salmon way they could have ended their. These were the people that came out with Shigsy with the Master Sword to announce Twilight Princess. You go from that moment to that. Soapbox, stepping off it. So we've got quite a packed discussion tonight. We've got a few bits and pieces to go over. I think the first one we had on our list was talking about the recent PlayStation sales report, but also change in leadership. A co-chair CEO situation they have now. One recognizable name, Herman Holst, who previously been associated with Guerrilla Games, and is now co-chairman of PlayStation. They are in a really sort of odd spot, I think, right now, because they've come off of this fantastic start to the gen. PS5 obviously selling incredibly well. I saw someone reporting it was like 5-1 to Xbox right now. I'm not sure how accurate that is, but certainly in the last sort of 18 months, they have well outpaced Xbox in terms of raw sales. They're also in a very strange situation right now, which is that their focus, their sort of the driving force behind their first party and creative direction seem to be moving towards multiplayer games as a service titles. We haven't seen anything bear out from any of that. We haven't seen anything really tangibly other than CG trailers. We've seen Fair Games, we've seen Concord, but nothing tangible. And then the only other bet that they had, another multiplayer studio, Deviation Games, they invested in, purchased and shut, and they never released anything. So it's a very strange situation. Yeah,
they're trying to repurpose Deviation Games. It's all a bit weird. I saw they're trying to bring them into another studio.
It's very odd, isn't it? And you look at what we were talking about last week about the Xbox closures recently with Tango and Arcane. you know, if it's about output, shut the initiative. We've spent hundreds of millions of dollars investing in that studio. They haven't made a single game yet. Perfect Dark still non-existent. Tango were a proven studio purchased when they took on Bethesda, having just released the critically acclaimed Hi-Fi Rush, and people loved it, and then they shut that studio. I don't know whether it's just that they're in so deep that they've invested so much that they have to see it through now to at least some kind of product. But then that logic doesn't necessarily work, because Sony did the reverse. They bought Deviation Games. They'd never made a game before, and within 2-3 years they shut them down. So it's a weird... They're in a weird spot.
I think the internet has jumped on, like, the PS5 sales are, I think, 29% down year on year for the quarter, but then Xbox sales were down more than that, I think 31%. So it's basically just the industry. And I think if you look at where PS5 sales are compared to PS4 sales, are roughly in the same place. And this is where PS4 sales peaked, and then they start to decline naturally towards the end of the gen, when most people who can afford to be a relatively early adopters have already jumped on. And then, I mean, they still, I think, sold 20 million PS5s in 2023, which is pretty good. Certainly, like you said, compared to Xbox, they kill for those numbers. So I think it's just where we are in the generation, and the perfect point for them to introduce the Pro console.
Is when exactly.
You would do it.
I've been wondering actually if this gen is going to be shorter than the last, and that actually we're going to start seeing either, like you said, the sort of mid-gen refreshes, but also are we going to get new actual, like, a generational leap sooner than we think?
Well, it sounds like Microsoft might go early, which would be a smart decision for them, assuming they haven't changed their strategy completely. And then it'll be whether Sony feel like they need to. Normally, everyone is kind of in step, apart from Nintendo. So yeah, we may well see a shorter one, I think.
Yeah, and actually that's where Big Manny just saying I got my PS5 in 2023. Yeah, I got mine. I think I was just the year prior. It was 2022 for mine. So I wasn't straight away at launch either. This is typically the kind of moment where historically they have done some kind of either PlayStation Slim of some kind, or in the case of last gen, the Pro, which was the 4K enabled console. So we're in the sort of sweet spot right now for those things to happen. It does seem, I think, to also be indicative of this concept of, like, content is king. They'd already made it very clear that this year is going to be very light for their first party. It's all going to be second party partnerships and previously made third party deals. Apparently, Concord is still due for release this year.
I mean, that would be massive if true.
Yeah, because that's their big sci-fi multiplayer title. That, again, we've only seen the teaser trailer, that slow panning back shot of the interior of the ship. So it's
that's PC, PS5.
Yeah. I think all of their games as a service titles. I think Fair Games are the same thing. Going to be PC, PS5, and Helldivers 2 was the first of any of their slate, which again was second party, but was the first one to be day and date PC and PS5. So, and that's had was it 12 million sales? I think they announced in the fiscal report.
In 12 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, which is crazy numbers for Arrowhead. I mean, that blows anything they've previously done out of the water. That also gives them, I think, not only viability moving forward, but we're likely to see both Helldivers 2 getting a lot of support and expansions, much like the original. But it just also, in a broader sense, proves that the strategy of that PC console release is working for them, when historically they haven't really done that. It's always been sort of released after the fact.
And as part of that financial report, they've confirmed that they are focusing more on hours played or engagement rather than sales, which Microsoft did quite a long time ago. And I don't know, I feel like you kind of do that when you're trying to mask that your
sales,
like sales revenue isn't quite matching what you want it to be. And we'll come on to Square Enix in a minute, and it's literally what Square Enix have said as well, or similar sort of thing. So.
Yeah, they, I think, have been a little bit more explicit, haven't they? They've sort of very clearly talked about how sales and revenue specifically are down, noticeably down, and they're reshifting to a multi-platform strategy, something I know we'll talk about shortly. But I do wonder if like you said about the sort of the potential masking of, say, underperformance in certain areas. This has always been something Xbox has really struggled with because, by every metric, they're in third in terms of raw console sales. It's very difficult, isn't it, when some people sort of dismiss the fact that they put Activision revenue, it showed like a 60% increase. Well, of course it did, because they bought them. They spent 70 billion on them. So while I think it's odd when some people just sort of dismiss those statistics out of hand, I think what's more interesting to look at is if they didn't have Activision, where would that revenue be?
Yeah, and it was a decrease, wasn't it? I think
Yeah.
gaming revenue was 6% down without Activision.
That's right, and that's a more
isn't
relevant.
good.
That's a more relevant conversation than just going, yeah, but if you don't count them, if that doesn't count, well, it does. They bought them, but it's more interesting, I think, then off of that to then go, where would they be? Given the state of their release cadence and where they're at generally as a company.
I mean, I don't want to get into a Concord discussion, but given so many of the top 10 most played games are all old games, I think having something like Concord, I really hope it comes in and does well, even if it is PlayStation PC exclusive. Just we need something to disrupt that.
For sure, and that's where that list, when you look at it, is just so multiplayer dominant, last gen dominant. We see it in all of the charts across all the platforms. That data is widely available. It's something I know that just recently we saw that report, didn't we, in the finals? One of our absolute favourite games apparently underperforming slightly in terms of... I think that was probably more about secondary spend, underperforming in the sense of not necessarily player count, but people actually buying the Battle Pass, buying skins, etc. I know that was one of the big reasons why Knockout City was then sunsetted, was because they had decent community, they had players, they just weren't spending. And I do wonder if that is also systemic of a wider problem, which is that there is now so many games, quantity-wise, there are so many things vying for our attention that also want to keep you playing as well, which then makes it even harder to commit and stay involved with those titles that demand so much of our time.
I think it's essential that you have brand partnerships, licensed partnerships with those games. In the finals, I don't think has had any.
No.
I think the only content you've ever bought on Rocket League has been licensed stuff. Yep. I think the vast majority of Fortnite content is probably all licensed as well. So it's hard for a smaller studio or a lesser known studio to get those deals probably, but I think it's pretty important, and maybe they should have focused on that for the finals. Because
and it's
the cosmetics are cool, but you wouldn't spend money on them, I don't think.
Right, and that's where, again, what I like is actually the wording of it gave me hope a bit more optimistically, which was that they're evaluating it. They're looking at what they can do to address that, and potentially that could be one solution, is sort of partner with different brands to try and get that extra engagement within your title. Big Manny, I only ever buy the funny licensed skins in Fortnite. Well, it proves that it does the business, right? Because I've done that. I've seen stuff like I've definitely bought Alan Wake in Fortnite when I was still playing that, because I was invested in that character and I happened to be playing the game. So that just made sense. There is definitely value in that synergy, particularly when I think there are so many things vying for our attention right now, on top of then your own personal single player backlogs or co-op experiences. You've got that on top of these live service games with their seasonal updates and new modes being added, and everything is trying to keep you invested. And with so much choice, more I think than I've never had more of a wide palette of things to be able to dip into than ever before. That can be really tricky if you're a game relying on that consistent revenue and engagement in order to be sustainable. And speaking of sustainable, excellent segue. Let's look at where Square Enix are at right now. It's a pretty bullish report in terms of its specificity, in terms of how they've reacted to their sales numbers and their revenue. Very clearly stating a refocus on a multi-platform strategy. That their exclusivity deals, which were with PlayStation, and I don't know whether any of those came to PC. I think they must have done at some point. Might not have been an instant release, but could have been a year's exclusivity. Nintendo, Xbox, they specifically cited other platforms as new focus areas because I don't think their sales relative to investment have recouped a lot of their, Remedy's even facing this right now still with Alan Wake, critically commercially successful, but that's still recouping its costs. Square Enix very clearly stating that they hadn't met their expectations and that partnering with PlayStation on franchises that historically have always been associated with PlayStation, but that partnership didn't necessarily equal the revenue and sales they were hoping for.
Yeah, I think they said that Rebirth, Final Fantasy 16 and Foam Stars, obviously Foam Stars, all missed their revenue expectations.
Oh, Foam Stars.
I think with 16 it was a case of the initial sales met their forecast, but then it's dropped off quicker than expected. Rebirth, I think, just didn't do what they were expecting. But compared to Remake, which launched on PS4 and PS5, so you've got a huge install base of PS4, and then if they're expecting Rebirth to do the same numbers, it's simply not going to.
It's half the
being on PS5
base.
exclusive. So
yeah,
and it's that whole deal is very strange because it's only had a very short period of exclusivity on Rebirth. So I think the end of this month it can technically come to other platforms. We don't know. I don't think we've heard if that's actually going to happen, but it's a bit of a weird one. And we don't know if the last game in the set is going to have the same deal. But they also said that they've cancelled several games that were in the works that kind of didn't meet this multi-platform target, which is a bit of an odd one. You'd think you could at least repurpose them for multiple platforms, unless they had a deal signed with PlayStation and they've said we can't do it, and have had to cancel the games as a result. But it's an interesting one for sure.
Yeah, and I guess also this really got me thinking about exclusives just broadly anyway, just the value of exclusives on a platform, because I wanted to try and unpack, take Nintendo, their exclusives are system sellers, and that strategy, we haven't seen Zelda come to PC, because they still, I think, are the only of the major platform holders that are in a position to release an exclusive title and it only be on one specific platform tailored for that, and it still absolutely destroys in terms of sales. And I don't know whether that's because, I wanted to try and understand why. And I didn't know whether perhaps that was because it truly is, Nintendo really is its own audience. I know we've we've sometimes joked, sometimes seriously sort of talked about them being these sort of weird outliers. They're not really in competition with Xbox and PlayStation, because Xbox and PlayStation are so intrinsically linked. Despite the different strategies, they are fundamentally just PC hardware in a different plastic box. Especially this gen, more so than ever before. Whereas Nintendo, ever the sort of wacky trailblazers, sometimes misses, Wii U, sometimes hits, Switch, they seem to still be able to follow that classic model of exclusives sell hardware, and if you want to play our games, this is the only way to do that. That still works for them. But everything else we're hearing from the other platform holders is, well, we've got to diversify. And that's from publishers like Square, right the way up to the big platform holders like Microsoft and Xbox and Sony. So I wanted to understand why they've been able to capture such a successful market share with that approach.
I think Nintendo are fortunate because they're the system sellers. All their exclusives aren't system sellers, because you have like Kirby games and Yoshi games and Luigi's Mansion and stuff, which I know is one of your favorite games, but they're not system sellers. No, the system sellers are Mario and Zelda and Smash Brothers and Mario Kart. And those all they appeal to people who are parents now, middle-aged people. They appeal to kids and teenagers, and I think that's the difference. It's something like Last of Us or Uncharted don't appeal across the generations in the same sort of way. And so I think even if you have a really big install base for PlayStation, maybe like 50% of them are going to be like adults or parents, and then the rest are going to be kids, probably playing Fortnite and free-to-play stuff. If you had something like Mario, then I think all of that audience would be playing it. But something like Last of Us, it's only part of the install base. you see the incredible attach rate that Nintendo have to their games. It's like insane. Like almost everyone that has a Switch buys like Zelda and Mario Kart and stuff.
Yeah,
You just don't see that with other franchises.
That's a good point, actually, about attach rate, too. But I was just thinking about that, which is that particularly on Switch, yes, you're right, games like Kirby, Mario Tennis, Luigi's Mansion aren't the system sellers, but the attach rate of that software is still really strong because you've got those system sellers to get you in, and then the number, like you see it in their financial postings all the time, that the number of people who then who secondary spended and bought those smaller titles is massive. They've got people like on average owning like 12 games on the platform on average, which is very difficult to then compare to the other, like the Xbox and PlayStation, which I imagine would be much lower.
It's funny because we had a time like GameCube, and I think Wii U as well, where third parties basically weren't making games for the consoles, or you'd have a few like Ubisoft that were putting some effort in, and then no one else was really bothering. But that actually has started to play into Nintendo's hands, because it means if you want to buy a new game, you've got all these amazing Nintendo games or like indie games on the store, but other than that, there's not a lot. So I think that helps the attach rate. Yeah. Whereas on like Xbox, you've got very, very few first-party games. The quality's fairly low, so everyone's buying third-party stuff.
Yeah.
So there's nothing like it other than GTA, which I think has, although it doesn't cross generations because of the age rating, but the attach rate of GTA is probably pretty high. Must be the highest game off a Nintendo platform, I would have thought.
Yeah, for sure. That, I think it raises a really interesting point, which is that you look at what Nintendo are offering there, given the fact that they have seen such tangible success with those system selling games. The attach rate then comes with that. You then see them being able to cultivate a really engaged community because they want to then continue playing on that platform. It's where you can then potentially... That's definitely one factor you can then point at these sort of lower than expected console sales, for instance, across PlayStation and Xbox, because maybe they don't have the consistency of their pipeline delivering stuff. I mean, it's only been pretty good. It's only really this year that PS5 has sort of maybe, from a first-party exclusive standpoint, has struggled a little bit, but then they've had Helldivers. I mean, you can't argue with 12 million copies sold.
I would give Sony a lot of credit for that, because I think they identified that there was a gap in their first party, and they've paid to have some exclusive second party and third party deals. Microsoft I don't think they think like that. They just think we'll get some stuff on Game Pass to make up for the lack of first party, which isn't the same as paying for an exclusive deal. So yeah, fair play. I think they've done a decent job. I know people are very negative at the moment, but if I was a PlayStation fan, I wouldn't be too worried.
No, and I think even if say Concord doesn't make it into 2024, I think there's a real possibility that something like that, and maybe like on the Xbox side with Indiana Jones, I think there is a possibility both of those games could end up being maybe like by March 25 potentially. I think Sony can still point to having a pretty good, Stellar Blade, Rise of the Ronin, Helldivers 2. That's a pretty good selection even just there. And that's not including any other third-party releases that they've got with maybe a DLC exclusivity window, or there's other, we've got some pretty big releases this year anyway that are going to be multi-platform that would easily bolster if you're within their ecosystem.
And they were a bit unfortunate with Rise of the Ronin reviewing quite poorly, and Foam Stars, probably we could have said that wasn't going to land very well, but probably when they signed it, I think the idea was right. It probably made sense. I wanted to ask, given, like, I don't think it's necessarily an actual tactic of Nintendo's to kind of discourage third parties from their platform, but it obviously plays into their hands given the massive difference in revenue you would get from selling a first party game. And considering they never lower prices on their own games,
ever.
Is it in Nintendo's interest to have Call of Duty on Switch?
That's a good point. I think if you'd asked me that during the Wii U era, they'd have been desperate because they didn't have the sales. So therefore, yes, please, whatever you want to play is here. It's waiting for you. Now I don't think it matters so much because they've been able to ride wave of their own exclusives and the consistency of those exclusives as well. Every single year, there's either a couple remakes, a new title. There's something going on that people are clearly invested in. I don't think it matters as much now as it would have done 7 years ago, possibly.
I think it will depend where Switch 2 lands. Like if they're trying to compete with, especially the Microsoft handheld that we assume is going to come out, and they want to position it as you only need the Switch 2, you don't need Xbox or PlayStation, which they haven't done before. They've always been with a second console. If you're a hardcore gamer, have an Xbox or a PlayStation and a Switch. In which case, it doesn't really make sense to play Call of Duty on the Switch. But if the Switch 2 is maybe more expensive and more powerful, and they're trying to position it as the console to own, which I think would be the logical next step for them if they can try to break.
Well,
that.
yeah, and actually, also they've weirdly, despite this, have shown that there've been a number of quite big third-party games have then been ported to Switch. We've seen that again and again. It's certainly not been, I don't think, their priority going in, but a number of it's not unusual for bigger titles to get a Switch port now. That's I think certainly weirdly, I think their third-party relationships and support is significantly better now than it was even just in the previous generation.
Yeah, it tends to be though, like after it's released on other platforms, and then in those situations, it's like, oh, it'd be cool to play LA Noire while I'm on the bus or something. It's kind of people buying it for a second time often, I think, on
yes,
Switch.
It's them going, well, if you want to play Borderlands or you want to play Elder Scrolls, you want to have that on there. We've got that now. It's obviously pared down. It's obviously been graphically, adapted. But you're right. I think it's them not necessarily day and dating third party, but legacy titles that are being maybe remastered on other platforms anyway, and then they're doing a Switch version. Like Red Dead Redemption, I believe, was on Switch, wasn't it, as well? Same thing. They did the same thing with that.
Yeah.
So, it's great to see that they're actually willing to have those releases on there in a way that, in the past, it never seemed like to be a priority for them.
Yeah, well, and I think we'll end up with a situation where Xbox will move to have more and more of their own games on other platforms, which we're seeing already. Sony, I mean, people are saying are going to go in the same direction, but I think they will limit it to the games as a service titles, and then everything else, as they have done in the past, comes to PC later with like Director's Cut or something. And then Nintendo will obviously keep their stuff locked down, and I think that's just it will carry on. I think I can't see it changing too much.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think the way that Square Enix have spoken very explicitly about their new strategy here, and that they want to really diversify their release platforms, just shows where the industry is shifting towards. And those walls started to come down a few years ago, I think, when crossplay was then widely accepted. I think the notion of platforms connecting together, and then the traditional exclusive, certainly for PlayStation and Xbox, has changed. It's evolved a little bit as I think there's definitely a connection between the amount of choice and games. There's never been more releases and big budget titles, right all the way scaled down to those indie releases. There's never been more games vying for attention. I think you could track the progression of multi-platform releases to numbers of games being made. I think there's a really interesting ratio to look at there that has definitely indicated a shift in strategy.
Yeah, I think Square Enix are talking about PC mainly. I just don't think Xbox has a big enough audience. It will do some numbers, but PC is the key one. I think everyone, if you're worried about sales, you need to be releasing on PC plus one of the two consoles. And it will be. I saw a I'm not sure what you'd call it a report, but it came out just before we came on, saying more confirmation that Xbox are looking at putting more of their. Or there's something there's no red lines. They'll put anything on other platforms, which I still don't think is true. But I'm sure they're just getting pressure from above to do that. But I can't see it happening.
No, I don't think so either. I think you exit the hardware market when you're doing that. If you were to really go that route, I think they become a Sega. They become the third party publisher at that point. Everything it's tricky though, isn't it? Because we've seen quite a bit of contradiction from them in the last few months, but everything they're saying outwardly, whether it's PR guff or not, is we're working on next gen hardware, we're exploring a handheld, we're doubling down on our bigger studios, all these things that are the right things to say for the hardcore. But then again, referencing that hardcore group, don't know how many people are aware of really what's been going on. The wider, the average Xbox fan, much like how you mentioned earlier about the specific demographics that were playing, say, PlayStation exclusives like The Last of Us versus, say, something like from Nintendo, from like Mario. I don't know how many people actually care about this stuff other than the people that are really invested in the ecosystems and the discourse online and play all the exclusives because that's their chosen platform. I don't know actually, for instance, how much closing Arcane Austin will move the needle in terms of people suddenly then unsubscribing from Game Pass, or them saying that there's no first-party Sony releases this year would mean people cancelling their PS Plus subscriptions. I don't know if that's... If the volume and the noise that we see within social media is actually reflective of what people actually care about, and the charts and most played games, I would argue, back up that sentiment as well, what we see actually.
Yeah, I think the only problem Xbox have in that sense is I do think more of their audience is likely to be discerning or following the games industry. I don't think it has the mass appeal of PlayStation at the moment. So I think they are more reliant on that hardcore audience that have probably already also got PlayStations, or certainly they've got PCs and Xboxes. So I think it does hurt them more. And if they ever go to the situation where you have like Gears of War on PlayStation, you'll get people in the shops looking at it and thinking, "What? I'm not going to buy it." Oh, Gears of War's on PlayStation. Why would I get an Xbox?
I could play Horizon, The Last of Us, and God of War, and Ratchet and Clank, and Returnal, and Death Stranding, and Ghost of Tsushima, and like Spider-Man. I could play that all here, and Gears of War as well. Why am I buying an Xbox? I just... Content is king. Games is all about the games. I bought a PS5 for Last of Us Part 1. So it sells. It sells.
Yeah, it's always been... Whenever I've bought a second console in a generation, other than Nintendo, it's all... Well, actually, including Nintendo, it's always been for a game.
Yep.
One Absolutely. Particular game that's made me make that decision.
Yeah, I think it's you see it again in all of the conversations happening online. You can unpack and deconstruct all of the motivation behind this multi-platform strategy. Look at the sales data and see how that all breaks down and how that's changed their approach. But it fundamentally boils down to content. And PlayStation have leveraged their IP more consistently with better clarity than any of the other things that Xbox have put out in equivalents. We haven't seen consistency from them. Nintendo, I think, are top of that list in terms of consistency of release. They've shown time and again a willingness to leverage their really big franchises, and it all boils down to content. Is making games that make people want to either stay invested in your subscription or pick up your hardware, and that's something that fundamentally, in a very oversimplified way, explains why Xbox is in third, I think, and justifies where publishers like Square Enix are now going, we need to do something different, because there is more... I think because the indie scene has exploded. We've seen so many studios, and that sort of almost a return to the AA space. Publishers like Focus Entertainment, who I adore, and Devolver, they've kind of carved this AA space again, sort of slightly, that was very prevalent when we were growing up, in a lot of the consoles and a lot of the games we were playing. There's just so much choice out there that people are just... They're split between their different options. Yeah.
I think part of it is, like we were saying, there's no recent games in the most played list. I think that's played into the indies' hands, and also AA helps support AA because people aren't just hammering like AAA games at the moment, which opens the marketplace up, but also I think means that the first party games, obviously Sony have done pretty well with their first party, but I still don't think the actual sales numbers have been like astronomical in the way they were probably on PS4.
And the majority weren't then simultaneous release on PC. They've got to be looking at Helldivers 2. There is no question. I would love to see the breakdown of PS5 versus PC sales of Helldivers 2. That 12 million, I reckon, is significantly skewed to PC. I really do. And that's got to make them take notice that space is something that they need to double down on.
I think they'll release that figure at some point to prompt the conversation. Because if you're a PlayStation fan and you see like 2/3 of the audience was on PC, then you can't really argue with them doing that again in the future.
Well, Xbox pretty progressive with this in that sense. They had that strategy years ago. With Xbox Play Anywhere. You buy a copy of the game on Xbox, you're getting it on PC. You've got cross-save there all ready to go. When cross-play became more widely accepted, that was in place, ready to go. And a lot of their stuff did anyway because it was Xbox and PC cross-save, right? So they had that strategy in place a long time before any of the other platforms because they were looking at it as, I think smartly, you're within our ecosystem. You're playing you're playing Forza on Steam or on the Microsoft Store on PC, or you're buying it on an Xbox console or playing it on your phone, you are playing and paying money into our ecosystem. They're very clever. The problem they have is execution. They don't have the consistency of release and the execution of their strategy to match how forward-thinking they've been since the Xbox One era. And that's fundamentally the problem with them. And that's where, again, I actually fully hats off to both Square Enix and Sony for being actually relatively adaptable in their approach. I mean, Sony were no PC at all before this generation, really, in any meaningful sense.
Yeah.
So it shows a willingness to really be adaptive and maybe potentially out of necessity as well. They might not have had a choice because those margins were becoming razor thin, because development costs were booming and everything was being saturated. There was just so much opportunity for people to dive into different experiences. So you put all that together, I can completely understand why Square Enix are taking the approach they are. And then by extension, why the big platform holders are also exploring that. But then you've got the Nintendo anomaly. You have that kind of just sitting over here, just because their IP is so well... And they have... I really think the regular release cadence helps them so much. They are so consistent every year with their releases. Everything is so well planned out. Just like we said earlier about, Xbox not really thinking through... I think we talked about this last week, actually, wasn't it? We've got Hellblade next week, apparently. You wouldn't know it. But then at the end of the year, just everything.
Yeah.
A huge summer drought. When they, maniacs.
And well, there might be some Game Pass stuff, but there's no deals in place to fill that gap. It's just deal with it, play some Game Pass stuff.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there might be some like shadow drop or short announcement to release announcements in the showcase, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't want to shadow drop something now, would you, after Tango?
Not after Tango. Well, that brings us nicely into our next segment for tonight, which is to address the Xbox showcase coming up in June. We know there's a direct of some kind coming afterwards, but I would imagine that's Call of Duty. I think all of the sort of fairly obvious graphics that we've seen and the teaser images sort of indicate Call of Duty. It has just been a PR shitstorm for Xbox for ever since the direct. They had the developer direct in January, which was great. That was a great success. That's the last bit of positive news I sort of really remember from those teams and from that publisher. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to be expecting people to think going into this showcase. It's so negative coming in. There's so many open questions about like, where is State of Decay 3? Where is Contraband? Where's Perfect Dark? Why is Fable taking so long? There's so many, unknowns going into this. What are you hoping for this? Where does this what does a successful Xbox June showcase look like to you?
I think we need some surprises, stuff that we haven't seen before, that coming out soon. Like Doom has been rumored. A Gears of War has been rumored. I think we should basically expect Doom and Gears of War to be there. But I'd like them to be close, rather than Doom's coming in 3 years' time, or there's a new Gears of War we talked about it last week, I think, for the next gen. I would like to see State of Decay, and hopefully it looks good. Because I played the first one quite a lot. The second one didn't grab me. It was too similar to the first one, and the co-op was a bit wonky. Fable would be really nice to see some gameplay, but I think it's probably quite a way off personally, I don't care too much about the stuff that we know is coming this year. I'd rather see the unknown stuff, the stuff we haven't seen gameplay footage before, and save more Avowed or Indiana Jones for like a direct later in the year.
Yeah, I agree. Because they did show it. I thought, Avowed I turned around on. I was pretty lukewarm on that game, and that developer direct in January completely sold me on Avowed. Because it was that deep dive, and we've had that now. So give the space over to, like, what, for me, just top of the list, South of Midnight. Just show me what Compulsion are cooking, because I really enjoyed We Happy Few.
Yeah.
And that is one of my favourite teaser trailers from this gen. It's just coming up on screen now. That South of Midnight that's most anticipated for sure. Big Manny as well mentioning in chat, love a new Doom. Yeah, I think there's an appetite for that, particularly now that Bethesda is first party for Xbox. Davo, good to see you. Thank you for jumping back in.
Are you a bit surprised that the direct is Call of Duty? Like, it would make sense to me if it was Indiana Jones, because we've had the Avowed focus. I don't think we need much more on Avowed. We'll get some marketing the week before it comes out. But we've got those other games coming later in the year that we haven't seen that much on Indiana Jones. We've seen some gameplay, but not properly, like playing through a level or something. So I think there'd be room for that. It's a bit of a shame. Call of Duty, I would. When they acquired Bethesda, we had a Xbox thing, and then we had a Bethesda thing, and I would have liked them to do that with Activision. Keep Activision separate, and have an Activision showcase that has Call of Duty at, and keep the normal Xbox.
Yeah, it would sort of allow
show.
them to, like, separate Blizzard as well within that. You could have, like, Activision Blizzard, and then you've got World of Warcraft, Overwatch in there, and that's not part of the wider Xbox showcase. It's like a second show almost. Which is kind of what it looks like with that direct. It's kind of there's the Xbox showcase, and then whatever that thing is, which we think is Call of Duty. So there's kind of, I suppose, partially they're hitting that.
I'd like to see something new from Rare, as opposed to Sea of Thieves new season, whatever. I'd like to keep supporting Sea of Thieves, but it's about time, given the size of that studio, and they've just had a new building. Mm-hmm. They're obviously expanding for something, so I'd like to know what it is, and hopefully it's not Everwild.
Yeah, we talked about this off air. I had a pitch for what Rare should be doing in terms of, like, how they re-reveal that. I think don't cancel the game. Don't just pull the plug. You've invested a lot of years into that, and there's been no official announcement of it being binned off. Rebrand it, simplify it. So try and maybe steer away from the multiplayer shared world stuff. I don't think they will, because of their work on Sea of Thieves, and seeing the popularity of that is sort of, I wonder, I think this actually might have been your point, is I wonder if, single player Rare games are kind of done now for them, if they're moving towards the sort of shared world sandbox experiences. But I think you definitely change the name. I think Everwild, you sort of fade it out and another title comes up with a early access this year. I think would be a great way for them to get around it being wonky, much like Sea of Thieves got around it being an alpha for so long. You rebrand it, you simplify the scope. Maybe it's still multiplayer, but it's not open world. And that's how you reintroduce that title and try and sort of reframe the conversation into, oh, look at what this game has become, versus, oh, we thought it was going to be this and it really underwhelmed.
That made me think. When we were having the previous discussion, I was thinking the next generation for Xbox is going to be them transitioning away from hardware if they don't see very quick results in terms of strong hardware performance. I think they're putting the stuff in place to start putting more of their titles on other platforms and become a publisher. And I think they are going to try to continue doing that, assuming all goes to plan. And I was wondering if we have a new Rare game like Everwild, and it's a multiplayer games as a service kind of thing, do you think they might consider putting that on PlayStation straight away? Because they'll have laid the groundwork for that with Sea of Thieves. Obviously, Sea of Thieves was a delayed release, but given the reception seems to have been really strong, I think if I was Phil Spencer, I'd be thinking maybe this is a game that I can sneak onto PlayStation without people going crazy.
if revenue is the goal there, which it is because they've just spent 70 billion on Activision. I think that's where a lot of these decisions are coming from. Actually, I was thinking about our discussion from last week. I think a lot of it has been motivated by the Microsoft going, okay, we open the money hat for you. You need to start recouping this.
I think certainly if it was Sea of Thieves 2, which wouldn't make sense because it's a game as a service game, you wouldn't do a sequel. But if it was Sea of Thieves 2, I think there'd be quite a compelling argument to release it on PlayStation.
Yeah, I agree. I don't
away.
think they do that. I think it would be an exclusivity window. I think they would be the thing we talked about in the past, again off air, where we sort of said things like on Game Pass being like almost like the day one, and then 12 months later you get a lot of those games on multi-platform. You give Xbox the exclusive window. I
could see them doing early access though on Xbox and then launching the game like version 1 on both. We'll see. I just think it's
right?
Yeah, I think it's given how they've been approaching things. We could see that, and this will be what comes out of that show. Will be everyone saying what formats is this game coming out on? Because we had it from Indie, we had it from the Blade reveal, and every time there's a reveal.
Yeah, we still don't have confirmation of that, which is absurd. I mean, when a PlayStation game gets announced, I don't go, "Oh, what platforms is it on?" It's such a silly position for them to be in.
That Final Fantasy Rebirth trailer says at the bottom exclusive to PlayStation, and then it has a date on when it stops being exclusive to PlayStation.
The actual T's and C's are on the screen. Yeah, it showed the year, didn't it? And I think Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo, both of those titles had on the PlayStation trailers, they had their exclusivity window until 2024 or 2023 or whatever it was. Do you
remember when we the first time this became a big deal about mainly I think it was about Xbox games going to PC. The next show after that, they were so explicit in all the trailers. It was like Xbox console exclusive, whatever. It's said on every single trailer, and they don't do that now. And there's an obvious reason why they don't do it, because they don't want to commit to stuff that they can't.
Which is actually, funnily enough, one of the things I wanted to bring up about the showcase in June, which was I was hoping for that explicit.
I just don't think I don't think they're that company anymore. Sadly,
and I miss. I miss it.
And you hear Sarah Bond and Phil, I think Matt to a lesser extent Matt Booty. They still say, like, Sarah Bond has been very explicit and said, whole slate coming to Game Pass, all the Activision stuff's coming to Game Pass. I think they said when they were talking about the 4 games, they said, I can't remember what game it was. Maybe it was Starfield. They said it isn't going.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I'd be amazed if Starfield never goes to PS5. I just think it's going to happen at some point.
You can't rely on the accuracy of what they're saying, can you? Like, especially changes,
So I think when stuff is choreographed, they're thinking we can't commit to saying this is console exclusive. But when you put the execs like in front of a camera or someone's asking them questions, they commit. They say what they want to happen, and it's all kind of this argument that Satya Nadella and people above Phil Spencer are kind of trying to force stuff in a certain direction. I don't know if that's realistic, but when those execs speak, the Xbox execs, they seem quite confident in the direction they're going in. But
I think it's new hardware, a handheld, and day one releases on Game Pass. So that's which is the thing that now becomes they do have a problem, I think, because there's now less reasons for anyone to buy Xbox hardware, specifically because you've got then so many places where you can access that ecosystem. But maybe that's the point, is they're not bothered about making, because I imagine they make a loss on a Series X, probably not on an S. They're not bothered about they're not bothered about the sales for that necessarily anymore, because what they the bet was, it doesn't matter so much about having Series X being third, because our Game Pass with our content injection is going to then, those sub counts are going to go up, which we now have seen as stagnated, which means not only are they third in hardware sales, but their major bet isn't growing. And we can point to any number of reasons of that. I do think, again, the most top of that list is the lack of consistency of releases, I think, and that's the thing holding that back. But there is going to come a point where they're going to have to pick a lane, I think. They're Satcher looking to not necessarily, I think, mandating multi-platform releases. What he's mandating is recoup my 70 bill, please. And one of the ways they're doing that is shutting studios and cherry-picking games for multi-platform.
Yeah, and I don't think you do that by putting Call of Duty on Game Pass, but Sarah Bond has said it's coming, so we'll see what happens with that.
Well,
I would be not surprised at all if they row back on that.
Yeah.
Or we talked about this off stream as well, or it goes to PlayStation Plus.
This
and
they
is just
actually
focus on monetization.
Yeah, this showcase, first, I would say, in years for me, of Xbox doing something public, where I don't quite know what to expect in terms of gameplay that will be shown. Gameplay, I don't mean in-engine, because they got around CG trailers by saying, well, all of it was in-engine. Gameplay footage. Yeah, I know. Gameplay footage. I love South of Midnight, but show me the gameplay. I don't need any more in-engine trailers, please. I don't know what to expect from them at all in terms of what gameplay are we actually going to see, and how is the messaging going to be formatted. How many are we going to see the Xbox console exclusive, world premiere, all of that stuff, which I thought was great, which Jeff Keighley kind of popularized with the Game Awards. He always did such a good job with that,
Yeah.
I for the first time, because of the decision making being so left field, because of the inconsistency between their public strategy and the actions taken, I don't really know what to expect from this at all, which is a very intriguing place to be in, really. Do you think that's because the bar is now is quite low from them?
Well, I just think the direction they've been going in is away from that explicit. They don't want to say anything explicit. Not that it stopped them from going back on things before, but it's obviously a bad look. There's going to be so much negativity, like you said. Maybe they're hoping Hellblade will come out and be really good, and then people will be thinking about that. But it was really bad timing to do the studio closures. They should have done it with the Activision ones.
Yep.
I think people will be looking at, like, if Everworld was shown and doesn't look great, or the reaction's poor, then are people going to start worrying about Rare? If any of these teams don't. Anyone that's been working on something for a long time and isn't shown, all these questions are going to get asked, because there's been rumours that there's going to be first-party studios, proper first-party, not Bethesda or Activision studios, that are possibly getting looked at for redundancies.
Yeah, I saw some discussion. The Easy Allies were talking about this, which is that off the back of another report, I think it might have been Bloomberg that reported it, which was that apparently Tango were pitching Hi-Fi Rush 2, and Arcane Austin were pitching a sort of return to their sort of like immersive sim, like a Dishonored style sequel, maybe. And because they were in such an early, like they were just in the pitching pre-production, well, not even pre-production, like in the concept phase, that's why those studios, to almost that short-term win, let's recoup some money now, where you don't have anything in development right now, so there's nothing to be cancelled technically. They chose those studios because there wasn't anything in development. And what the Easy Allies were speculating was that, like, look at what Obsidian's tried to push with, like, Grounded, Avowed, Pentiment, and having multiple irons in the fire. Now we're doing a Grounded port. Oh, now we've got Avowed coming out. And obviously, and Outer Worlds 2 is cooking from them as well. That they've almost made themselves indispensable to Xbox.
Well, I think they've got a better handle on their budgets as well. They've never been like a full AAA studio in the same
Smartly,
way that other first parties will.
Yeah, exactly. What's going on.
It's paying dividends.
Could you imagine Game Pass right now without Obsidian?
I've said to some people that I think they shut Tango because of the Activision acquisition, which obviously does, their Bethesda that doesn't really make sense, maybe, but they're going to have such a massive glut of content for Game Pass. Do they really need like a Japanese studio making obscure, high budget games that don't do the numbers, when they've got all these Activision studios that they've just bought? And like you said, the next Hi-Fi Rush was going to be like 3 or 4 years out. They probably got 10 Activision studios with stuff coming out in the next 3 years. So why do you need Tango? It's just, there's no point. Which is a horrible way to look at it, but I think it is. They'll be looking at these quarterly releases, which we've talked about before, seeing they've got what they need. and they can afford to cut some studios because it wasn't a case of cherry picking Activision Studios. They bought everything that Activision have, so they might as well make use of it and cut elsewhere.
Yeah, as harsh as that is, I think there's an element of that plays into reality, kind of the reason why this decision happened. It's just, it was at a shitty time when the industry was already reeling.
And it's not the last of it, unfortunately, from Microsoft even.
No, and I think that's where this June showcase is so interesting to me, because I do think what we don't see is almost going to be as instructive as what we do. I think studios that don't show up, studios where we don't know what they're working on either, that would be more of a question mark for me in terms of like what you know. Could you imagine if like Perfect Dark, for instance, had like a second CG trailer?
Yeah, you'd rather not see it, but it happens quite a lot, doesn't it? A game gets announced and it's like 5 years. Well, it will be that case with Everwild. I don't know when Everwild was announced, but it's been a long time.
2019.
And like straight away, in the same year, I'm sure it was people like, "What's this? It's been rebooted already," or like talking about the team don't even know what it is. It's really unhelpful kind of messaging from the usual suspects leaking random stuff about games. But yeah, it's like you say, what we don't see is going to be interesting. If we see some of the big stuff like Fable or Perfect Dark, I think that will go down very well. But it needs to be gameplay for those. It does. And not like the Fable trailer.
It does, and I think we need windows. I think we need release windows for these things. We need quarters for the years, or even just a year. Slapping 2025 on it is very important to sort of like help us understand how they're going to shape things moving forward, because so much of wanting to retain your existing subscribers, not just trying to get new ones, is showing those existing fans that you have the ability to manage this number of teams and release things on a consistent basis, which will help sales of both the hardware and Game Pass subs. That will help that if you have consistency, which they don't. And you can see the payoff that consistency has had for both PlayStation and Nintendo. The models are there, clear as day.
Totally. I agree. There were just a couple of bits of other random Xbox news which I thought I'd share, because we've touched on one of these in particular. So the Starfield 60 FPS update is out now, apparently.
Certainly is.
So yeah, definitely give it a go. Be interesting to see how that's holding up with looking forward to Digital Foundry having a look at that one. And then there's a cool new update coming which will allow you to queue updates for your games in the same way you can queue downloads.
Oh, I saw this. Yeah, I was wondering if this would help my if I haven't played a game for a while, the Xbox tries to like help my bandwidth out and doesn't download the patch. Like I'm wondering if it's gonna help with that a little bit.
You'd like to think so.
Yeah.
So they do some stuff right. I think the hardware side is great. The infrastructure side, network side, Game Pass side is great. It's literally the studios have been and some of the decision making, but mainly the studios. And it's been the same guy basically in charge of the studios. It's been Phil Spencer and it's been Matt Booty, and you look at Sony changing things up where they need to, and promoting someone who seems to have done a pretty good job into CEO of the studios. So Microsoft are happy to make those decisions with their development teams, but not with their execs, because I don't think the execs have done a great job.
No, I think the managing of this number of teams has also become an issue of bloat for them too. I think there's been so much for them to coordinate, and that's led to their strategy having these holes in it. From a marketing perspective, from a release cadence perspective, how best to leverage those teams that you do have. I do think in an era when survival horror and Capcom are doing that, if you had a team, say with an Evil Within IP, why the hell weren't you greenlighting Evil Within 3 after Hi-Fi Rush and capturing a bit of that mindshare?
A new IP in the same genre. that you can make exclusive.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of stuff where, like, if you've got such concerns about engagement and revenue and trying to increase both of those metrics, get Raven Software to make a Halo game. You know, there's so much that sort of, I think, more left field thinking when you've got the kind of budgets and scope that they do and the talented teams that they've got under their roof. You know, I'm very worried about Ninja Theory. I'm very worried that their Hellblade 2 is going to come out and they're going to get cut now. Because anything's possible. I genuinely thought Tango Gameworks were safe as anything.
Yeah, I think everyone did. And you look at the gap between Hellblade 1 and Hellblade 2, it's quite a big gap for a game that short. And so it's going to be 4 years to the next game from that studio, which, yeah, if you're a developer at Ninja Theory, you'd be very concerned.
You'd be sweating.
And this is the problem when you have. I read a really good article, I think it was on Eurogamer, about normally companies make games because they want to earn money so that they can keep making games, whereas Microsoft makes games to earn money for Microsoft, and they don't care about funding the ability to keep doing this stuff because they love it, other than like people like Phil Spencer and those in the Xbox division. But Microsoft as a company aren't doing it because they love making games. They're doing it because they want to give a return to their shareholders. Whereas it is an industry that should be driven by passion for gaming.
A fair point, which I think Nintendo exemplify.
Totally. And when you have money as a primary concern, they'll be looking at Hellblade and they'll say, we can spend $10 million on a marketing campaign, or we can spend $1 million on a marketing campaign, and it's obvious what they'll pick, especially when it's on Game Pass, because you almost don't need to market Game Pass games. If you're marketing Hellblade, you're marketing Game Pass.
Yeah, you're marketing the advert is that it's day one, isn't it? That's the advert, not the release date. The advert is it's day one in a sub. Well, much to chew over. This has been jolly. Thank you, Mike, for our latest
pleasure.
Episode of System League. We're going to be taking a brief intermission right now, and then we're going to jump in just to some cozy Rocket League to finish us out tonight. So we'll be going just on pause just for a few minutes. We'll get ourselves all set up, and then we'll be back playing some Rocket League. So please stick around for some very sort of like very chilled, wholesome vibes to wrap out our stream this evening. Thank you again, everyone, and we'll be back shortly with some Rocket League. Thanks again, Mike. And we are back, folks. Got some jolly, wholesome Rocket League vibes going on. Just realised I need to put my streamer safe settings on to my audio so don't get yelled at. There we go. Lovely. Okay. Making sure that that's looking still
Good to
right.
go?
Yeah, lovely. Perfect. I think last time we played this, I went back up to platinum. I think I was
Oh yeah,
ascending the ranks.
Okay.
Yeah, so you guys, you're
Right, that's
sniffing
fun.
the coattails. You know what I mean?
I do.
You do.
On the Xbox stuff, we've been talking about the multi-format, games going to other platforms for so long, and because they're not dealing with it head on, they think they've dealt with it head on, but they haven't. It's just going to keep rolling on, it's always going to dominate the conversations.
Yeah.
Until they categorically.
Yeah, there just needs to be clarity in their messaging and consistency in their releases. That's the two things that that are just eluding them. Oh, come on.
I think what we talked about before was a good way to do it, where they have certain studios that are safe, that are exclusive studios, which it would be obvious, like 343 and the Coalition and Turn 10, and then basically anyone else. Just put some rules in place so people know what to expect. Would be nice.
I scored an own goal. that I think is often also to do with branding as well. Like we talked about, being like Xbox originals, or and I think an Xbox original would be an exclusive if you were going to brand it like that. And then you'd have something else to differentiate that, like you said, between the studios. Oh, I did him. So
it's not
yours,
working
baby.
as it is.
You weren't there.
Fucking hell. The game by game way isn't working for anyone.
It's just messy, isn't it?
And talking about they want every screen to be an Xbox. That whole debate, like every screen can technically you can play cloud games on it. You can't play any Xbox games. You can't play your entire library of Xbox games. And the cloud stuff still isn't perfect. Certainly not
exactly.
a substitute for playing on your console.
There's a long way for them to go for that vision to actually have like practical application, I think.
Yeah, so I don't know how they are possibly building their entire strategy around that at this stage. Maybe like in 10 years, maybe. But they're going. They're going so early with this stuff.
I've done him dirt. Yeah, there's a possibility that I do think we're going to see that next gen arrive sooner than we think. I really do. Oh.
Yeah.
I think I pushed you into him then to cause that. Oh.
Reboost.
Oh, yep. Big Manny, I don't think there's any game audio. Uh-oh. Looks like I've messed it up.
It's not all you messed up.
Messed it up. I'll fix that. Thank you, Big Manny, for letting me know. I think I know what I've done. Let me know now if that's fixed it. I think I just missed a setting. Had a couple of wonky technical things tonight. Our sort of awkward hold screen, which was just a muted camera view of us chatting.
Yeah.
And then, 5 minutes of gameplay with no audio. What's going on?
The score.
Oh, no, that's terrible. I mean, I don't know how I Rocco shotted that. That is no good. There we go. All fixed. Oh, he went to my shooting school.
Nice.
Oh, that's a good shot. Nice. Going for the epic save, I see.
Oh, well, yeah. Yeah, maybe. Didn't work though, did it? Off my game. Oh. I don't feel like our team play is at its finest.
What are you talking about? Why would you say that? I think the synergy's real. See, look.
Yeah.
Oh, terrible. Oh, dear. Oh, was I?
Oh, come on.
Oh, I should have done better with that. Ooh. Buzz off your fly. Oh, he did! That's what you were doing, wasn't it? You were scoring.
Yeah, I'd wait. I'd wait for you.
That's what you were
say
doing.
that. Yeah.
I got a fly in here, Mike, that's not paying rent. You know what I mean? I'm sitting here just hitting Rocket League balls left, right, and centre. And there's a fly buzzing around. He shouldn't be here.
Got the window open.
Yeah. He hasn't liked and subscribed.
Are you sure about that?
I am. Nice. I got it. Trying to push it. Ah, I even moved in my seat. That's a horrible bounce. Oh. Are we through here?
Yeah.
I mean, I have to score that, and I didn't. I felt the pressure. Oh, if only.
Oh, what am I doing?
Nice. It's a shame because I feel like we've been all over them.
Yeah, come on, we can do this.
I know, 24 seconds. We've got 21.
Bit backwards play here.
It's possible. Oh, that was backwards. I mean, come on now. Somebody stop it.
Please. Yours.
Nice.
Ah, should have done better with that.
Potential. Ah, squandered. That's a good touch.
Oh, go on.
Oh, I did
Yes!
it! What a goal!
Nice.
Your cross, though, was exceptional. Look at this. That double
You did
bounce
really well
off the
to
wall.
score that.
Oh,
Could have saved it from there.
baited a little JT goal there, too. That's what we like.
Yeah. These guys are going to be cross.
They're going to be furious. Even more so if we could do something with this. Oh! I actually did have faith for a second then. Red alert, by the way. Oh,
Right.
no, he screwed it. There you go.
I still remember the one we were playing in. It was like the last second, and the guy, like basically on his own goal, just dribbled it on his roof,
Yeah,
all the way
that's
down
right.
the pitch. It's horrific.
Oh! That was it. Go on! Oh, no.
Ah,
you were
too
both,
much.
both with the over-hoofing.
Yeah. Should have won that.
Nice.
Terrible.
Oh! Nearly baited an own goal, though. Intercepted. And of course, it's the game.
Right, shit.
Touch by them. That's a really good touch by them. I've been sent to
pushed it.
Bethlehem.
Oh, what am I doing?
It's a little bit shitty. A little bit
Just a
shitty
little
on the
bit.
goal line. I love it. Oh, I fucked it. Oh, dear.
Oh,
Oh, they cleared it for us.
Oh,
Thanks, friend.
I save. It's in.
That is an unbelievable way to win that round. Unbelievable. I need Jeff
You
Stites
get
to
all
come
the
in there
credit
and-
for that.
Yeah. I need Jeff Stites to come in with a tag and bag.
Yeah.
Excellent. Did you take umbrage with their good game there? That's
Always
great.
do, yeah.
Absolutely.
They threw away a 3-goal lead, didn't they? Good game.
I know, maniacs.
I'll take the MVP. Division up.
Nice. You got to be kissing Platt.
Yep. Goal 3, Division 3.
Yeah, not far now. Let's do it. Long search though.
Mm.
Matchmaking doesn't know if they can put us with anyone. They're thinking, well, they've taken out the Gabbers. They've taken out Pado and
Gabbers.
Flaviu.
Yeah, these guys are too good. We've got no one online that can.
There's
match.
no people online that could match us with under 600 points.
Except for the Iraq.
Iraq. Come on. That's actually their clan name as well, which is
Yeah.
fantastic.
I'll tell you what, they're not going to be playing Helldivers 2, are they?
No, they are not. They're not one of the 12 hundos. 12 millies. Oh, there it is. Left that for you.
These are some of the worst. These are some of the worst people I've ever played against.
Excellent.
Yours.
We're going to be ascending the ranks tonight. Oh dear. Oh,
Oh, he's got some air game.
nudges.
Oh, that
unlucky.
was in.
Nice. I'll try and push this. Decent. Ah, intercepted.
If you do say so yourself.
Falling back.
No, I'll tell you what. I've got some
Ooh.
game.
Ah.
Oh,
they
the
screwed this
defending's
up.
terrible though.
That's one of those where you kind of expect them to hit it, so you kind of you play accordingly. I may have left this open here. I'm so sorry. So sorry.
Yeah, I think don't expect defensively. Don't expect anything from these guys.
Yeah. This is the risk, isn't it? If we get players like this when we used to play the tournaments, you risk going in cold.
Yeah.
Ah.
Ugh. I was getting worried there.
Possibly unnecessary by me there. Ah. I've done his teammate dirt. Nice. Take that to the rack.
To Iraq.
Which is where they are. Oh dear. Oh, where was I? Should have had faith. Crucial, knew you were there. That I did have full faith. Oh, you're getting tackled a bit.
Pushing me a bit.
Yeah, I'm not having that. That's my
Nice.
job.
Get off me.
Oh,
Oh, I can't quite demo him. There we go.
that took some finesse. Read him.
Oh.
Oh,
Hey,
this is
nice
some.
play. He should have
This
saved
is
it.
some synergy right there. That's what we're cooking. Big Manny, just check my YouTube analytics, and I just love when the numbers go up, even if it's small. It feels amazing. Totally hear you on that. Even just like I think I had like one day where I got like 3 new subscribers. That was it.
Just knowing someone's watched your stuff is really
Oh, it's so cool.
rewarding.
And I never want to lose that feeling, no matter how sort of, you know, whatever kind of following we manage to cultivate here. I always want to have that feeling that they all matter. And that it is, like you say, like that kind of the... You don't need it. You don't need the validation, but it's the gratification of knowing that someone checked out something you made. That's pretty cool. So yeah, totally hear you, man. Ah, they've done me. Were they trying to sabotage you there a little bit?
No, I don't think so. I
They were
just
trying to
had
knock you aside.
faith
That's
that he was going to
really
miss it.
unfortunate. Ooh.
No, these are terrible.
They're kind of ball chasing, aren't they, really? Like, they regularly both come out of position.
And they just miss it so much.
Yeah.
You got some time.
Got on his inside.
Nice. Great goal.
There we go. I'm glad Shinigami Eyes is streamer safe.
Yeah, I didn't think it used to be. Maybe that was a Bond thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. There's no way Judi Dench has let me stream that. Oh, where was I? Oh, he's sent me to Valhalla. Oh, I've set them up. Nice. Oh, that's a shame. Good intercept, though. Pushing. Oh,
I was just trying to get some twos.
that's good. Working out for you. Oh, missed it. Other than that, we've capitalised, I think, quite well on the counter-attacks with these guys. They've really struggled with that.
Yeah.
I've done some good hutch reading. Oh, he's done me. Look at that. Job done. Platinum 1 Division 3, baby!
Oh, you fucker. I mean, I'm really happy for you.
I can tell. The level of support.
Yeah. Be used to that by now.
Oh, red
Oh,
alert.
nice.
That's a platinum play. Where's my stats?
Let's save that. No
Oh.
stat there.
Well, I didn't even hit the follow-up, so no chance.
Oh, he's mugged you.
Mug that. Oh. Oh, he did. Thank you so much, because I was flappy do. Oh, got some stats though, didn't you? That's
I did.
what you want.
It is.
Gotta get your twos. Flies come back around again. It's not paying rent. Nice, good clearance. Oh, they appear to be panicking. Oh, that was really good clearance.
Good shot, red leader.
Little Burly backflip on the law. Oh, no. So nearly an own goal.
Ah, that's why I didn't get any stats.
Yeah, because it was me that touched it. Excellent. Rick Astley streamer safe as well. Brilliant. Make you cry. Echoey Rick Astley, sort of haunting.
I was just thinking that, yeah. It's a nice touch.
Yeah. The Bond theme always worked well in that. If you've got like
Yeah.
an epic save, you had the sort of the slightly faded Bond theme in the background.
These guys are quite good.
Yeah, they're alright, aren't they? Who scored?
Sorry.
Oh, nice. Playing it back in.
Ah,
Oh, unlucky.
That's a great
So unlucky.
That's a great setup as well.
Ah. Missed
That
my
might
air
be me.
game.
Did he get that or did I score an own goal?
No, I think he got it.
Yeah, he did, luckily. I think it would have
Bounced
gone
off
out
a
for me.
pigeon. Ah, nice. Well done. I haven't got any boosts.
I'm going to
Trouble
go.
here. Yeah. Oh, man.
I don't know what I was hoping to do here.
Yeah, for sure. So, so lucky, Cast of Vendetta. One of my favourite scenes, actually, in the show is that weird dream sequence we wrote for beginning of Act 2. Good reference, Big Manny. That's great. Uh-oh.
Nice.
Oh, good save. Well done for holding your grounds. Good counter, though. X. Oh, nice. A little cool slide at the end.
Yeah.
I think I just missed you here, too. Smooth.
Shame I threw you on that. That
2 minutes to
didn't,
go,
didn't feel like a
Stranger
goal
Things.
for a team that's 3-1 down, but
Oh. Nice.
got my dribble on.
Keep it. Oh, that's ridiculous.
Might be going in.
Yeah.
So I couldn't quite see.
Feel
I
good
think
to
you
stop
should have
it.
got some stats there.
Ah! Got round me there. Oh.
God, I could
Nudges.
shoot a bit. Oh, come on.
That's right.
It's not alright.
Oh, they've done well there. They've
Going
done
in.
really well there. Ah, got wall glue.
We need a new breakout hit like this. 4-4.
Yeah.
It's been too long.
That's the sort of, yeah, the stalwart essential. The one that's a guarantee. Oh, no!
Mother.
Getting hosed! Yeah, I think Game Pass helps with our discoverability of stuff. We've definitely tried a lot because of it. And I think this next one will be our last this evening.
Yeah.
Let's try and end strong. I assume you've gone all the way back down to silver.
I'm holding firm.
Also, I didn't break triple digits in my score, so
Jesus.
I can pipe down.
Yeah.
That's what I can do. But will I? We pressed the right buttons.
I like the colours on this one.
Oh, go on.
Take the 10.
Well, I got you some opening
Nando's.
stats, isn't it?
This will get you some. Oh.
Well, I tried to hang
This will
back.
get you some. Oh.
Alright.
Oh, well, sorry. I thought you should have at least got a shot there.
You set me up to fail. Oh, speaking of which.
What a save.
Nice. Epic.
Right. I'll take it then.
Excellent. Well, I misread that.
Oh, what am I doing?
I got more gold glue. You're still going backwards, you maniac. Soaking up some twos there. That's bread and butter. Oh, I got some stats. Oh, that's dangerous. Oh, yeah, I got the own goal. Excellent.
I was very close to saving this.
Yeah, tough time. Oh no! Completely misread it.
Warp speed.
Yeah, I know. God, I was like rewriting power to the impulse engines there. That was horrible.
Oh, stop pushing me.
You get nudged around.
Yeah.
They're being maniacs. I gave up to go and get some boost.
I was trying to be shitty.
Worth it.
It wasn't really in this case.
It always is.
Ooh,
Potential,
well done.
but I think he might get to it because it was a bit flaccid. Ooh, no.
Ah, I should have gone for it.
Were you hanging back?
Yeah. Yeah. It was one of those where sometimes they do the front flip and can get to it first. I didn't want to commit, but I should have, I think.
Corpse on the pile. Oh man.
Ah,
Oh, I'm so glad that wasn't recorded. Oh wait.
You had a couple of those. You just go
Stop,
fully
it's not been
commit to
good.
them
And only
fight
anyone's
hard.
seeing is my perspective. So, can't be missed. There's no hiding on Twitch, baby. Burly Bird Media. Me thinking I was going to ascend up the ranks, but now I'm on the edge of plat.
Where you belong.
Oh, man. Got the angle on it. Good touch.
Go on.
Got to score.
Oh.
Baited the own goal as well. Nearly
the
missed,
own
though.
goal.
There's a good chance if it wasn't
I
for
know.
him, that would have missed.
I know. I was ready to chastise you for that. Yeah,
Yeah, that was definitely... That was going in the crowd, wasn't it? That was going to go through the barrier. Oh, going for a special. Ah.
Yeah, been a while.
Oh, yeah, it's been... Oh, he's nudged me a bit.
Used to get one per tournament,
Easy.
if not more. Don't know what happened. Maybe they changed the dynamics slightly.
I just think I'm a bit of shit with them.
Okay.
Oh. Oh, no.
I've got... Waiting for the nudge.
Oh, and he's waiting for his 75 Gs. He's hanging around. Nudge this. Oh, hey!
Oh, you scumbag! Come on!
Just hook, line, and sinker, baby. Hook, line, and sink.
Your tactic is just to miss the goal.
Hey, come on, buddy boy. You need to get on my side here.
I can't.
Come on, friendo. Listen, pal. Welcome to the party, pal. Excellent. Oh.
What was the game?
I'm Flappy Doo. Thank you. So I was doing actually nothing with that for the last 30 seconds. I was just showing up. Not doing much when I was there. Go on.
Terrible.
That should have been in the tag and bag.
It should have.
Available now.
You're not one to talk, come on. I missed sufficiently that it should have gone in by your standards.
See, they're struggling a bit here.
Yeah, put the pressure on. Waiting for the own goal there, weren't you?
Yeah, I was baiting that own goal. You keep on believing. I feel like they're on a bit of life support here.
Yeah. Oh, come on. Why am I so shit? Don't answer that question.
Excellent.
10 sets.
Big touch.
Come on. Oh! Oh, I had it. I was going to dribble it in.
Oh! Oh, no. You say you're going to dribble it in.
Yeah, until you hit me out of the way. I had it all planned out. I could see
It's all
it.
going,
My
that's going
mind's eye.
all the way through. That's a
Division
bullseye, baby.
down.
Uh-oh. Platinum on
6
Division
shots,
2.
2 goals. And 2 of those were not even going in.
2 of those piddlers. Unearned Piddlers. Good name for a band. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in to this latest episode of System Link. Covered the gamut tonight. Really great segue filled conversation. We'll be back on Monday at 9 o'clock for some Burly Bird Live. Not quite sure what I'm going to be streaming yet. I think I'm going to keep it open for a minute, but that is coming up on Monday. I have been speaking to a couple of people about doing some guesting as well on there. So I might see some other faces pop up on Burly Bird Live next Monday. Not necessarily next week particularly, but there is going to be some guests coming up in the future. So please look forward to that. Mike, as always, an absolute treat. Thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you. It's great. Enjoyed it.
Great fun. Thanks everyone. Yeah, Big Manny, yeah, long stream. Probably I actually think that's my longest stream ever. tonight. Not just System Link, but just generally as well. So, yeah, didn't need 2 hours. God damn. Yeah, no, it was a hefty one. We got cozy tonight. We got comfy.
Until you're not paying me by the hour.
As you know, the budget is non-existent. Thank you everyone so much for tuning in. We will see you next time. We'll be back on Monday at 9 PM for Burly Bird Live. Until then, have a lovely rest of your week, everyone. Thank you again so much for showing up and showing your support. It is always appreciated. So take care, everyone, and see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.